Jake Morrison crouched behind a broken concrete wall as laser fire lit up the sky above him. The air smelled like burning metal and smoke. His heart pounded in his chest as he checked his weapon. 3 years of war had taught him to stay calm during fights, but this battle was different. This battle was worse. Kepler Station was supposed to be safe. It was a place where families lived, where children played in parks between the tall buildings. Now those same buildings were falling down around them. The Zephyrian ships had come without warning, dropping from the dark space above like angry metal birds. "Jake, we need to move!" Sergeant Kevin Hayes shouted over the noise of explosions. His face was dirty with dust and sweat. "The civilians are trapped in Section 7. We have to get them out." Jake nodded and signaled to his team. Corporal Lisa Grant was already moving toward the next building. Her rifle was ready, and her eyes were sharp as she watched for enemies. Behind her, 3 other soldiers followed. They had been fighting together for 2 years. They trusted each other with their lives. The group ran across the open street as enemy fire crashed around them. Jake felt the heat of a laser blast pass close to his head. They made it to the other side and pressed against the wall of a damaged store. Through the broken windows, Jake could see scared families hiding inside. "There are too many of them," Lisa said, breathing hard. "The Zephyrians have us surrounded." Jake looked around the corner. She was right. The alien soldiers were everywhere. Their tall, thin bodies moved quickly between the buildings. Their weapons were better than human weapons. Their ships were faster and stronger. But humans had something else. They had the will to protect what they loved. "We go through the back," Jake decided. "Get to the evacuation zone and help load the ships." They moved carefully through the back streets. The sound of battle was all around them. Human ships fought in the sky while soldiers fought on the ground. Jake had seen many battles, but he had never seen destruction like this. When they reached the evacuation zone, chaos waited for them. Hundreds of people were trying to get on ships that would take them to safety. Children were crying. Parents were shouting names of family members they could not find. Medical workers were helping wounded people. Jake's team spread out to help control the crowd. That was when he heard a new sound. It was the scream of metal being torn apart. A Zephyrian ship was falling from the sky, spinning out of control. Black smoke poured from its broken engines. "Everyone down!" Jake yelled. The ship crashed into a building 2 blocks away. The ground shook. Windows broke all around them. When the dust settled, Jake could see fire and smoke rising from where the ship had hit. "Stay here and help the people," Jake told his team. "I'm going to check for survivors." "Jake, don't," Kevin warned. "It's too dangerous." But Jake was already running toward the crash. He did not know why. Something pulled him forward. Maybe it was his training. Maybe it was something deeper. Human soldiers were taught to help anyone who was hurt, even enemies. The crashed ship was a mess of twisted metal and broken glass. Jake climbed over the pieces carefully. The fire was getting bigger, and he knew the ship might explode soon. He should have turned back. Any smart soldier would have turned back. Then he saw movement. A Zephyrian warrior was crawling out of the wreck. Jake had seen these aliens before in battle. They were tall and thin with pale skin and large dark eyes. This one was badly hurt. Green blood covered his strange armor. But he was not alone. In his arms, the dying warrior carried something small. It took Jake a moment to understand what he was seeing. It was a child. A Zephyrian child. She was tiny, maybe the size of a human 5-year-old, with the same pale skin and dark eyes as the warrior. The warrior saw Jake and stopped moving. For a moment, the two soldiers looked at each other across the wreckage. They were enemies. They had been trying to kill each other for 3 years. But now, in this moment, Jake saw something different in the alien's eyes. The warrior lifted the child toward Jake. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then Jake understood. The warrior was asking him to save the child. With his last breath, the enemy soldier was begging a human to protect his daughter. The warrior's eyes closed. His body went still. The child in his arms began to make soft crying sounds. Jake heard a new danger. The whistle of incoming artillery. The big guns were firing at their position. In seconds, this whole area would be destroyed. He had maybe 10 seconds to run to safety. He looked at the alien child. She was so small, so scared. Her dark eyes looked up at him with the same fear he had seen in human children during the war. Jake made his choice. He grabbed the child and covered her with his own body just as the world exploded around them. Pain shot through his back as pieces of metal hit his armor. The ground shook beneath him. Fire and smoke filled the air, but under him, the alien child was safe. When the bombing stopped, Jake could hear voices calling his name. His team had come, looking for him. Strong hands pulled him up from the wreckage. Blood ran down his face and his left arm would not move right. "Jake, what were you thinking?" Lisa shouted, but her voice was full of worry, not anger. In his good arm, Jake still held the alien child. She was alive. She was unhurt. And she was looking at him with those big dark eyes like he was the most important person in the universe. "We need to get her to the medical team," Jake said quietly. As they carried both Jake and the child to safety, none of them knew that this single act would change everything. The war, the peace, the future of both species. All because one human soldier decided that protecting a child was more important than being enemies. 3 weeks after the battle, Jake Morrison sat on the edge of his hospital bed and tried to move his left shoulder. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. Pieces of metal had hit his back and arm, but nothing had damaged anything important inside his body. The scars would stay with him forever, but he could still fight if he needed to. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of medical machines. Jake preferred the quiet. Outside his room, everything was chaos. News reporters wanted to talk to him. Military officers wanted to question him. Some people called him a hero, others called him a traitor, all because he had saved one small alien child. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Commander Ben Torres walked in. He was a good man who had always been fair to his soldiers. His face looked tired, like he had not slept much recently. "How are you feeling, Jake?" Torres asked, sitting in the chair next to the bed. "Better each day, sir," Jake replied. "When can I return to duty?" Torres was quiet for a moment. He looked out the window where ships moved across the sky like distant stars. "That's complicated right now. There are people who want to talk to you. Important people." "About the child?" "Her name is Zara," Torres said. "At least that's what the medical team calls her. She's been learning our language faster than anyone thought possible. Dr. Alex Parker says she's incredibly smart. Maybe smarter than most human children her age." Jake felt something warm in his chest when he heard the name. "Is she okay? Is she safe?" "She's in a secure medical facility. Clean room, good food, people taking care of her. But Jake..." Torres paused. "She keeps asking for you." This surprised Jake. "Asking for me?" She's learned enough words to make herself clear. She draws pictures of a man in armor protecting her. The doctors think you're the first person she felt safe with after watching her father die. Jake remembered, those big, dark eyes looking up at him from the wreckage. He had not thought about it much since then, but he realized he had been worried about her. "Can I see her?" Torres shook his head. "Admiral Patricia Stone has other plans. She thinks the child could be useful for getting information about the enemy. She wants to use Zara to learn about Zephyrian technology and war plans." "She's just a child," Jake said, feeling anger rise in his chest. "A child who might help us end this war," Torres replied. "But there's something else. Something bigger." He stood up and walked to the window. "The Zephyrians have asked for a ceasefire." Jake sat up straighter. "A ceasefire? Why now?" "They want to talk. They want to exchange prisoners. But here's the strange part. They specifically asked to speak with the Protector. They want to talk to you, Jake." The room felt colder suddenly. Jake did not understand. "Why me?" "We don't know. Their message was short. They said they wanted to speak with the human who protected their child. They're willing to come to a neutral space station for talks, but only if you're there." Jake's mind raced. In 3 years of war, the Zephyrians had never asked for talks. They had never shown interest in peace. They just fought. They attacked human colonies and space stations. They killed human soldiers and civilians. Why would they want peace now? "What does Admiral Stone think?" Jake asked. Torres made a face like he had tasted something bitter. "She thinks it's a trap, but she also thinks it's an opportunity. If the Zephyrians really want to talk, we might learn something useful. She wants you to go, but not for peace talks." "What do you mean?" "She wants you to be a spy. Get close to them, learn their secrets, find their weaknesses. She thinks saving their child has given you a way to get inside their society." Jake felt sick. The idea of using Zara, of pretending to care about her just to spy on her people, made his stomach hurt. "What if I refuse?" "You're a soldier, Jake. You follow orders." Torres sat back down and looked directly at Jake. "But between you and me, I think there might be another way to look at this." "What way?" "What if they really want peace? What if saving that child showed them something about humans they didn't know before? What if this is our chance to end the war without more killing?" Jake thought about this. He thought about all the soldiers who had died in 3 years of fighting. He thought about the families on Kepler Station running for their lives. He thought about Zara, alone and scared, in a medical facility. "I want to see her first," Jake said finally. "Before I make any decisions, I want to see Zara." Torres smiled for the first time since entering the room. "I was hoping you'd say that. Dr. Parker has been asking to let you visit. He thinks it might help her emotional recovery." The next day, Jake walked slowly through the halls of the medical facility. His shoulder still hurt, but he could move around okay. 2 guards walked with him. They were there to protect him, but Jake knew they were also there to watch him. Dr. Alex Parker met them at the door to Zara's room. He was a thin man with kind eyes who studied alien life. "Lieutenant Morrison, I'm glad you're here. Zara has been asking about you every day." Through the clear wall, Jake could see into the room. It looked like a child's bedroom with toys and books and soft furniture. Zara sat at a small table, drawing with colorful pens. She was bigger than Jake remembered, but still very small. Her pale skin looked healthy, and her dark hair was clean and shiny. When she saw Jake, her face changed completely. She dropped her pen and pressed her hands against the glass wall. Her mouth moved and Jake could hear her voice through the speakers. "Protector," she said in careful English. "You came back." Jake's heart felt heavy and light at the same time. He put his hand against the glass where hers was. "Hello, Zara. I promised I would come see you." "She's been drawing pictures of you," Dr. Parker said softly, "and learning words to talk to you. She's incredibly intelligent." Zara held up a drawing. It showed a figure in armor covering a small figure with his body. Above them, red and orange lines showed the explosions. At the bottom, she had written words in shaky letters. "Jake saved Zara." "She remembers everything," Jake said. "More than that," Dr. Parker replied. "She understands what you did for her. In her culture, I think saving someone's life creates a very strong bond." Jake spent an hour talking with Zara through the glass. She told him about her father, who had been a warrior. She told him about her home, which had beautiful purple skies. She asked him about Earth and human families, and why humans fought so much. When it was time to leave, Zara pressed both hands against the glass again. "Will you take me home, Jake?" she asked. Jake did not know how to answer. He did not even know where her home was or if it still existed. "I'll try to keep you safe," he promised. As he walked back to his room, Jake knew he had made his decision. He would go to the peace talks, not as a spy for Admiral Stone, not as a soldier following orders. He would go as the man who had promised to protect a child. And maybe, just maybe, he could help end the war that had already taken too much from both sides. The neutral space station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the darkness between stars. Jake Morrison stared out the window of the transport ship as they got closer. He had never seen anything like it. The station was huge, with lights that twinkled like jewels along its curved surface. "Nervous?" asked Captain Nicole Webb, sitting across from him. She was a skilled negotiator who would lead the human team during the talks. Her calm voice and steady eyes made people trust her. "A little," Jake admitted. Next to him, Lieutenant Sam Carter checked his weapon for the third time. Sam was Jake's best friend and had volunteered to come as his escort. The two men had served together for 2 years and trusted each other completely. "Remember," Captain Webb said, "we don't know what they really want. Be careful what you say. Everything you do could affect these talks." Jake nodded, but his mind was on Zara. She had cried when they separated her from him for the trip. In the 3 days since his first visit, he had spent hours with her each day. She was learning English so fast it amazed everyone. She was also teaching Jake words in her language. Her name for him was something that sounded like Keth Nara, which, she said, meant life protector. The docking process was smooth and quiet. As they walked through the station's halls, Jake noticed everything was perfectly clean and new. Humans and other alien species worked together here, but he saw no Zephyrians. They would arrive separately. There, rooms were comfortable but simple. Jake tried to rest, but sleep would not come. Tomorrow, he would meet the people who had been trying to kill him for 3 years. Tomorrow he might learn why they wanted to talk to him specifically. The next morning brought news that changed everything. "The Zephyrian ship is here, Captain," Webb announced as she entered the meeting room where Jake and Sam were eating breakfast. "It's bigger than we expected. Much bigger." Through the large windows, Jake could see the alien ship. It was beautiful and frightening at the same time. The hull was smooth and white like polished bone, and it moved without making any sound that they could hear. Strange blue lights pulsed along its sides like a heartbeat. "How many of them?" Sam asked. "Our sensors show about 50 life signs," Webb replied. "But only 5 are coming to the station. Their leader and 4 guards." "Do we know who their leader is?" Jake asked. Webb's face became serious. "According to our intelligence, it's someone very important. Maybe one of their top military commanders. We'll know more when they dock." An hour later, Jake stood in the main meeting hall with the human diplomatic team. His dress uniform felt strange after weeks in hospital clothes. Captain Webb stood next to him while Sam and 2 other soldiers waited near the door. The Zephyrian delegation entered the room like shadows made solid. They were tall and thin, moving with grace that reminded Jake of dancers. Their skin was pale white, almost like moonlight, and their large, dark eyes seemed to see everything at once. But it was their leader who made Jake's breath catch in his throat. She was taller than the others, wearing armor that looked like it was made from liquid silver. Symbols were carved into the metal, glowing with soft blue light. Her face was beautiful in a way that was completely alien, but somehow familiar. When her dark eyes found Jake across the room, he felt like she was looking into his soul. "I am Serenity Cathara," she said in perfect English. Her voice was like music, but there was power behind it. "I have come for my daughter." The room became very quiet. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. This was Zara's mother. The child he had protected was the daughter of what looked like one of the most important Zephyrians alive. "I am Captain Nicole Webb," the human negotiator replied. "We welcome you to these talks. Your daughter is safe and well cared for." Serenity's eyes never left Jake. "I wish to speak with the one who protected her, the one she calls Keth Nara." Jake stepped forward. He felt like a small child next to this powerful alien woman. "I'm Lieutenant Jake Morrison." Serenity walked closer. The other Zephyrians moved with her but stayed a respectful distance behind. When she was close enough to touch Jake, she stopped. For a long moment, she just looked at him. "You used your body to shield my child from death," she said finally. "Why?" The question surprised Jake. She was just a child. Children should be protected. Even enemy children? Jake thought about this. "I don't think children can be enemies. They're just children." Something changed in Serenity's expression. Her face became softer, and Jake thought he saw surprise in her dark eyes. "In our culture, there is a word for what you did. Keth Nara Sol. It means to protect life with your own life, especially the life of a child." "I just did what felt right," Jake said. "What felt right?" Serenity repeated like she was testing the words. "Yes, I think I understand." She turned to Captain Webb. "I want to see my daughter now." "Of course," Webb replied. "She's on our ship. We can arrange a meeting immediately." "No," Serenity said firmly. "I want her brought here, to this station, and I want Lieutenant Morrison present when we meet." Webb looked uncomfortable. "That wasn't part of our agreement." "It is now." Serenity's voice became harder. "You will bring my daughter here, or these talks end before they begin." 4 hours later, Jake stood in a smaller meeting room as the door opened. Zara ran in, her dark hair flying behind her. When she saw Jake, she smiled brighter than the station's lights. "Jake!" she called out, running to him. But then she saw her mother. Zara stopped running. Her mouth opened in surprise. For a moment, she just stared. Then she spoke one word in her own language, soft and full of wonder. "Mama!" Serenity knelt down and opened her arms. Zara ran to her, and the two held each other tight. Jake watched them together and felt something break inside his chest. They belonged together. This powerful alien leader was just a mother who had lost her child. They spoke in their own language for several minutes. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the love and relief in their voices. Finally, Serenity looked up at Jake while still holding Zara. "She tells me you visited her every day, that you kept your promise to protect her. She's a special child," Jake said. "Anyone would want to protect her." Serenity stood up, lifting Zara easily. "No, Lieutenant Morrison, not anyone. In 3 years of war, you are the first human to show mercy to one of us. You are the first to choose protection over revenge." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. Serenity looked at her daughter, then back at Jake. "It means you have changed something that I thought could never change. You have given me hope that this war can end." Zara squirmed in her mother's arms and reached toward Jake. Serenity let her down, and the child ran to Jake. She took his hand and then reached for her mother's hand, trying to pull them together. "She wants us to be friends," Serenity said with something that might have been a smile. "I'd like that," Jake replied. Serenity took Jake's hand. Her skin was cool and smooth, not like human skin, but not unpleasant. In our culture, someone who saves a child's life becomes Keth Nara to that family. It is a bond that cannot be broken. It makes you part of our clan. Jake felt the weight of her words. "What does that mean, exactly?" "It means, Lieutenant Morrison, that you are no longer just a human soldier. You are also Zara's protector. You are part of our family now, whether you choose it or not." Standing there, holding hands with an alien mother and child, Jake realized that his life had just changed in ways he could not even begin to understand. The war, his duty, his future, everything was different now, and for the first time in 3 years, he thought that might be a good thing. Jake Morrison sat in his quarters on the space station, staring at a data pad that would change his life forever. The screen showed the translation of a formal document written in the flowing symbols of the Zephyrian language. It was an adoption contract, a legal paper that would make him officially part of Serenity's family clan. 3 days had passed since he first met Zara's mother. 3 days of talks between humans and Zephyrians. 3 days of learning things that made him question everything he thought he knew about the war. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Captain Nicole Webb entered with a serious expression on her face. Behind her came Colonel Frank Mason, a man Jake had only heard about in whispers. Mason was military intelligence, the kind of person who made decisions that affected entire planets. "Lieutenant Morrison," Colonel Mason said, sitting down without being invited. "We need to talk." Jake set down the data pad. "About what, sir?" "About the choice you're about to make," Webb said. "We know what Serenity offered you. We know about the adoption papers." Mason leaned forward. "What they're offering you is unprecedented, Lieutenant. A chance to become part of an alien family, to live among them, to see their society from the inside. Do you understand what that means?" "It means Zara would have someone to protect her in both worlds," Jake replied carefully. "It means much more than that," Mason continued. "It means you could be our greatest intelligence asset, living among them, learning their technology, understanding their military structure. You could help us end this war." Jake felt something. cold settle in his stomach. You want me to be a spy. I want you to be a patriot, Mason said firmly. Your species is depending on you. Humanity needs to know what the Zephyrians are planning. Webb looked uncomfortable. Jake, there's something else you should know. Something we learned during the talks. She activated a holographic display that showed star charts. The Zephyrians' home system is dying. The display showed a red giant star that was growing larger. Around it, several planets were marked in red. Their sun is expanding, Webb continued. In about 50 years, it will destroy all life in their system. They're not fighting us because they hate us. They're fighting because they need new homes for their people. This information hit Jake like a physical blow. They're refugees? Desperate refugees, Mason corrected. Which makes them even more dangerous. They have nothing to lose, Morrison. Nothing except their children. Jake thought about Zara, about her drawings of purple skies and her stories of home. He thought about Serenity's face when she held her daughter for the first time in weeks. What are you asking me to do? Jake said quietly. Accept their offer, Mason replied. Become part of their family. Live among them. But remember who you really serve. Remember that you're human first. And betray the trust of a woman who's making me part of her family? Mason's expression hardened. That woman has been killing human soldiers for 3 years. Her fleet destroyed 6 colonies. She's responsible for thousands of deaths. She's also a mother trying to save her people, Jake countered. Don't let sentiment cloud your judgment, Lieutenant. This is war. After they left, Jake walked to the observation deck where he could see both ships, the human vessel and the Zephyrian. Bun. They hung in space like symbols of everything that divided the two species. You look troubled, Jake. He turned to find Lieutenant Sam Carter approaching. His friend's face showed concern and something else. Worry. Sam. How long have you been watching me? Long enough to see Mason leave your quarters looking satisfied. Sam joined Jake at the window. What did he want? Jake told him about the conversation, about the choice he faced. Sam listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each word. You know this is wrong, don't you? Sam said finally. Which part? Using a child's love to spy on her people. Using Serenity's trust to gather intelligence. You saved Zara because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted something from her. Jake nodded slowly. But if I don't do this, how many more people die? How many more colonies get destroyed? And if you do this, what happens to you? What happens to the man who risked his life to protect a child? Before Jake could answer, his communicator beeped. It was a message from Serenity asking him to come to the Zephyrian ship. She wanted to show him something important. An hour later, Jake floated through the corridors of the alien vessel. Everything was beautiful and strange. The walls seemed to glow with their own light, and the air tasted like flowers he had never smelled. Zara met him at the docking port, excited to show him her mother's ship. This is where I lived before, she said, taking his hand. Come, Mama wants to show you our history. Serenity waited for them in a large room filled with holographic displays. The images showed planets and cities and millions of Zephyrian people going about their lives. This is our home system, Serenity said. These are the worlds my people have lived on for 10,000 years. The display changed, showing the expanding red sun. Cities disappeared under waves of deadly radiation. Oceans boiled away. Entire worlds became lifeless rocks. We have 50 years, Serenity continued. 50 years to find new homes for 8 billion people. We are not conquerors, Jake. We are parents trying to save our children. Why didn't you just ask for help? Jake said. Why start a war? Serenity's expression became sad. We tried. We sent peaceful messages to dozens of species. Most ignored us. Some attacked our messenger ships. Humans told us to go away and find somewhere else. Jake felt sick. We refused to help? Your government said human space was for humans only. They said alien refugees were not their problem. Serenity touched one of the displays, and it showed recordings of human officials rejecting Zephyrian requests for aid. So we took what we needed, Serenity continued. We tried to find empty worlds first, but there weren't enough. We tried to take only what was necessary. But when humans fought back, when they started killing our scouts and explorers, the situation became war. Both sides made mistakes, Jake said quietly. Yes, both sides. Serenity turned off the displays and looked directly at Jake. But you showed me something different. You showed me that not all humans see us as monsters. You protected my daughter when you could have let her die. Any decent person would have done the same. No, Jake, that is where you are wrong. Serenity's voice became intense. Do you know how many Zephyrian children have died in this war? Do you know how many human soldiers have walked past wounded Zephyrian young and left them to die? Jake did not want to hear the answer. All of them, Serenity said. Until you. You are the first to choose mercy over revenge. That is why I asked for you specifically. That is why I want you to become Kethnara to my family. What would that mean exactly? What would I have to do? Live with us for part of each year. Help raise Zara. Learn our ways as she learns yours. Become a bridge between our species. Serenity paused. And help me convince my people that peace with humans is possible. Peace? There are many in my fleet who want to continue the war until every human world is conquered. They believe your species will never accept us. But if I can show them a human who became family, who chose to protect us instead of destroy us. She smiled at Zara, who was playing with a holographic toy. They might listen. Jake realized that Serenity was offering him the same choice Mason had, but for different reasons. Both sides wanted him to be a bridge between species. Both sides wanted him to influence the other, but Mason wanted him to spy and betray, while Serenity wanted him to build trust and understanding. I need time to think, Jake said. Of course. But Jake, Serenity put her hand on his shoulder. Whatever you decide, know that Zara already sees you as family. In her mind, you are already her Kethnara. That bond exists whether you make it official or not. As Jake returned to the human ship, his mind churned with everything he had learned. The Zephyrians were refugees, not conquerors. The war had started because of fear and misunderstanding on both sides, and now he had a chance to help end it. But the price would be everything he had ever known about loyalty, duty, and home. 6 months later, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the research vessel Unity, watching 2 different types of ships work together in space. Human and Zephyrian crews moved back and forth between the vessels, sharing knowledge and building, something that neither species could have created alone. It was the first joint exploration ship, designed to search for worlds where both humans and Zephyrians could live together. The sight still amazed Jake every morning when he woke up. "Kethnara Jake," a young voice called behind him. He turned to see Zara running toward him. She was taller now, and her English was perfect, but she still liked to use the Zephyrian word for his special role in her family. She wore a uniform that combined human and Zephyrian designs, practical human materials with the flowing lines that Zephyrians preferred. "Good morning, little star," Jake replied, using the nickname Serenity had taught him. "Are you ready for your flying lesson?" Zara's face lit up with excitement. "Can we try the barrel roll today? Sam promised to teach me." Jake laughed. Lieutenant Sam Carter had become the ship's primary pilot trainer, working with both human and Zephyrian students. "If your mother says it's okay..." "Says what's okay?" Serenity's voice came from the bridge entrance. She moved with the same grace Jake remembered from their first meeting, but now she wore a uniform similar to Zara's. The sight of her still took his breath away sometimes. "Sam wants to teach Zara barrel rolls," Jake explained. Serenity raised an eyebrow. "Is that wise for a 12-year-old? "I'm almost 13, Zara protested. "And I've been flying for 6 months. I'm really good at it." "She is good at it," Jake agreed. "Better than most adult pilots I've seen." Serenity smiled. "Very well, but only if Jake is in the co-pilot seat." Zara hugged both of them before running off to find Sam. Jake watched her go, still amazed at how much his life had changed. The scared child he had protected in the wreckage had become a confident young person who belonged equally in both worlds. "Any regrets?" Serenity asked quietly. It was a question she asked him sometimes. Jake's choice to accept the family bond had not been simple or easy. He had rejected Colonel Mason's request to spy on the Zephyrians, which had ended his career in human military intelligence. Some humans still called him a traitor. Some Zephyrians still did not trust him completely, but he had also helped create something new. "None," Jake answered honestly. "This was the right choice, even though you can never go back to your old life." Jake looked out at the mixed fleet of ships. "I didn't lose my old life, Serenity. I just made it bigger." The formal adoption ceremony had taken place 3 months ago on a newly discovered planet that both species agreed to share. Jake had stood in a circle with Serenity's extended family clan, while ancient words were spoken in the Zephyrian language. When it was finished, he bore the family markings on his arms, beautiful designs that glowed softly blue and identified him as Keth Nara to anyone who knew how to read them. But the real change had happened gradually, day by day, as he learned to be part of 2 families at once. "Bridge to all stations," came Captain Webb's voice over the communication system. "We're approaching the Kepler 7 system. All survey teams prepare for deployment." Jake felt a familiar excitement. This would be their 4th joint survey mission. Each previous mission had found worlds suitable for settlement, and this system looked even more promising. More importantly, each mission had brought human and Zephyrian crews closer together. "I should check on the survey preparations," Serenity said. As the senior Zephyrian officer on the ship, she coordinated all joint operations. "I'll meet you in the launch bay after Zara's flying lesson," Jake replied. An hour later, Jake climbed out of a training fighter with shaking legs and a huge smile. Zara had not only mastered barrel rolls, she had invented a new flying maneuver that combined human precision with Zephyrian grace. "She's going to be an incredible pilot," Sam said, helping Jake down from the cockpit. "Better than both of us combined." "She's incredible at everything," Jake agreed. "Yesterday she solved a mathematics problem that had been stumping our engineers for weeks." "Hybrid thinking," Sam said. "She processes information like a human but sees patterns like a Zephyrian. It's like having the best of both species in one person." They walked together toward the survey preparation area. Over the months, Sam had become one of Jake's strongest supporters. He had also become fascinated by Zephyrian technology and was learning their language. "Any word from Earth lately?" Jake asked. Sam's expression became more serious. "Some. The news is mixed. About half the human colonies support what we're doing here. The other half think we've all gone crazy." "And the Zephyrian fleet?" "About the same. Serenity says there are still war leaders who want to continue fighting, but every successful joint mission makes them harder to ignore." They reached the launch bay where survey teams were preparing for deployment. Jake watched humans and Zephyrians working side by side, sharing equipment and knowledge. Dr. Alex Parker was there, excitedly discussing soil samples with a Zephyrian scientist whose name Jake was still learning to pronounce. "6 months ago, this would have been impossible," Sam observed. "6 months ago, I was just a soldier following orders," Jake replied. "Now look at us. Now you're a father figure to the most important child in 2 species, married and all but, named to one of the most powerful Zephyrian leaders, and helping to build the future of both civilizations." Jake blinked. "Married and all but name?" Sam grinned. "You live together, you're raising a child together, you make decisions together, and you wear each other's family markings. If that's not marriage, it's close enough." Jake had never thought about it that way, but Sam was right. Somewhere along the way, his family bond with Serenity had become something deeper. They were partners in every sense that mattered. "Does that bother you?" Sam asked, noticing Jake's thoughtful expression. "No," Jake said after a moment. "It just surprises me. A year ago, I thought Zephyrians were monsters. Now I can't imagine my life without them." The survey mission was successful. 3 planets in the system could support both human and Zephyrian life with minimal terraforming. More importantly, the mixed survey teams worked together so smoothly that they completed the mission in half the expected time. That evening, Jake found himself on the observation deck with Serenity and Zara. They were looking at star charts, planning future missions and settlements. It was a routine they had developed, spending the evening together as a family, sharing the day's experiences and making plans. The 3rd planet would be perfect for a research colony, Serenity was saying. Both species could study the native life forms together. "Can we build a city there?" Zara asked. "A real city where humans and Zephyrians live together?" "Maybe," Jake said. "If both governments agree to the settlement treaty." "They will," Zara said with confidence. "They have to. We're proving that it works." Jake hoped she was right. The political situation was complicated. Some human leaders were starting to support joint settlements, especially as refugee problems on Earth grew worse. Some Zephyrian clans were also changing their minds about the war, especially as reports came back about successful cooperation. But there were still hardliners on both sides who preferred fighting to sharing. "Whatever happens," Serenity said, "we've already succeeded in the most important way." "How's that?" Jake asked. She looked at Zara, who was absorbed in calculating orbital mechanics for the new planet. "We've raised a child who belongs to both worlds. She will have children of her own someday, and they will grow up seeing cooperation as normal. That's how change really happens, 1 generation at a time." Jake watched Zara work with her calculations, using both human mathematics and Zephyrian pattern recognition. She was exactly what Serenity said, a child of both worlds. In her, the future was already taking shape. "Admiral Stone wants to see our report next week," Jake said quietly. "And Serenity, your War Council has requested a meeting as well." "Both sides are getting nervous," Serenity agreed. "We're changing too much too fast for some people." "Are you worried?" She considered this. "No, We've proven that cooperation works. We've shown that humans and Zephyrians can be family. Even if some people resist, the truth is already out there. Look, Zara suddenly exclaimed, pointing out the window. The new planet is rising. They looked where she pointed and saw a blue-green world coming into view as the ship rotated. It was beautiful and pristine, full of possibilities for both species. Someday I'm going to live there, Zara announced, and I'm going to have both human and Zephyrian friends, and they'll all think it's perfectly normal. Jake put his arms around both Serenity and Zara as they watched the planet turn below them. A year ago, he had been a soldier in a war he didn't fully understand. Now he was part of a family that was helping to build peace between two species. It wasn't the life he had planned, but it was the life he had chosen. And looking at the blue-green world below, full of promise for the future, Jake knew he had made the right choice. The war wasn't over yet. There would be more challenges, more resistance, more people who preferred old hatreds to new possibilities. But change had already begun, in the laughter of a child who belonged to both worlds, in the cooperation of former enemies, and in the simple truth that protecting someone different from yourself was the most human thing you